Welcome to Let's Talk About It. A podcast gives a platform for real talk, real people, real topics, real conversations. Please subscribe, like, comment, enjoy this journey, and enjoy this ride. Welcome to this week's episode. Welcome, everybody, to Let's Talk About It, a podcast that gives a platform for real talk, real people, real topics, real conversations. Today and foremost, first of all, I'd like to thank all my YouTube subscribers who have subscribed to this podcast. Thank you so much. Keep on supporting. Please like, please share, please comment. And for my Apple and Spotify listeners, thank you so much. Keep on giving me a good rating. Please give me a follow. Because, ladies and gentlemen, we have a fantastic guest on today. This is all part of my Black History Month here. We're talking to a young man that has served his military, that has served all United States military. That is he has an interesting journey. I'm not going to get too much into it. I want him to tell his story. It's a fantastic story. Mental health, PTSD. Amakara, I'm telling you right now, my man, I am so. No, sorry, Amarak. I'm sorry, I'm up here brewing your
No
name,
worries.
brother. I'm gonna get right back down to it. I'm not gonna do a big intro and stuff like that because like your story is amazing. You told me so much of, you told me a short version of your story. And before we get into your journey, because you served the United States military for how many years?
10,
10
10
years.
years.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, this man has a very, very interesting story. He's going to get into and tell you the reason why he joined the United States military, United States Marines, correct?
Army.
Army, I say. He's going to tell you this right here. But Amarok, I'm telling you, I want to ask you something that maybe a lot of people have not asked you already. There's a journey, there's a reason why you joined the military at the time that you joined it, at one of the most horrific times in our history. I want to know, what was your young self like? So it's going to give me like a better determination of why you made that big decision. Give me a little lowdown of your young self to where I can understand why you made that huge decision in your life.
So I grew up in New York, and I was in a few boroughs: Harlem, Yonkers, and Bronx. And that was before I went to upstate. The way I grew up, father was a cop, and we lived in the projects. And most of my childhood involved me getting in some kind of fight. And I mean, this is
Yeah,
me at 5 through 12 years old. That instilled in me to stand up for people that were being picked on, bullied on, things of that nature. I had
yeah.
a brother then that would be there with me, and yeah, grew up like gladiators in the hood, and it stayed with me, and to this day it stays with me. And I think that would be the best way to describe my upbringing. Period, is that it was just, you know, paycheck to paycheck for my father, and me and my brother just trying to survive a neighborhood of kids that didn't know who they were, or who they would get, or they were going to be when they grew up. So
Sir, I can tell you right now, and ladies and gentlemen, I want everybody to know this. This young man, his story has been on many news outlets and probably other podcasts as well. But we go deep dive into this. Sir, you told me that on a certain day that you made the most important decision of your life. So I want you to start off from that day
okay.
of why you joined the United States military.
So normal day at school, and day was almost over. Was ready to go home, and there was a call that went over the speakers telling everybody to immediately evacuate. None of us knew what was going on, and even the teachers looked confused. And as we're walking through the hallways, we hear certain teachers talking to other teachers about a plane, or planes, excuse me, that were crashing into buildings. And it was so surreal. And the way the adults were perceiving it was at any minute a plane would drop on our heads.
Wow.
As we continued, we, as in me and my class, continued to walk through the hallways, we learned more and more that it's possible that it's from Iraq, insurgents from Iraq,
Mm.
and it was an act of terrorism. I had to decide whether or not to take a school bus or walk home. The walk home was 5 miles.
Mm.
And because of the chaos, I get anxiety in crowds. I've always had that problem. I decided to walk.
Okay.
And see all the school, everybody's running around going crazy. School buses are speeding off, taking people home. And as I'm walking, I'm looking at the sky and looking at planes flying over our heads and started feeling scared. Not knowing if the plane's going to, swoop down and crash on top of me or anything of that nature. Or,
Mm.
they said it happened in New York City. Again, my dad was a cop. He was working in New York City when it happened. And the more and more I walked, the fear turned into anger. The fear became rage. The fact that I was scared of airplanes, the fact that they made me fear for my dad's life, my mom's life, my siblings' lives. And
Mm.
by the time I got home from that 5 mile walk, I made the decision to do something about it. I'd rather fight than look over my shoulder. And in that moment, that was when I made the decision. The next day, I brought my mom to the school and my father and had them sign to so I could drop out and get my GED to join the military. I was in 11th grade, so I had 1 year left.
Let
And
me ask you a question, sir. I'm going to cut you off. I think I saw one of the other interviews. Was your parents in the military too?
my father was
Okay. So
father's
when
father's
you
father.
father's father.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you made this decision to take the most ultimate jump, you was like in 11th grade. I'll bring my mom up, get my GED. Like, what did your dad say?
My dad, like he served as well. He understood. My dad understood. It was my mother that was heartbroken, that was trying to talk me out of dropping out. I mean, it was a adult decision made by a kid.
Yeah.
But again, they watched me growing up. They knew the type of man I would become.
Mm.
And if I made a decision like that, because I knew how important my education was to them,
Yeah.
they understood that there wasn't an option. There wasn't my father saw that in me. My mother saw that too. There was no talking me out of it. It was like, all right, they threw the first shot. I'd rather bring the fight home to them.
Wow. To
There was
be
no discussion. It was just like, hey, mom, this is what I'm doing. I love you. I know you're going to be disappointed. I have to do
Mm.
this.
Bro, to be so young, like before you continue on with your story, when you think about that at your age right now, like how impressed are you with your younger self to make that decision?
Oh, so I wouldn't. Uh, Everything I do, like when I look at myself, I'm very critical, and we'll
Yeah,
get into that further down the line as far
I
as
got you.
how I see myself as a man and how I saw myself then and now.
Okay,
And this was just I didn't think about it, and to this day, it was in. Yeah, there was people say thank you for your service, and my first response is, well, thank you for your patriotism, and my second response was it was the right thing to do. So it
got you.
wasn't like I didn't understand. They say, oh, someone else will come along and help. I always felt that when somebody says that, they miss the opportunity to help.
Got you.
Okay.
All right. So you get your GED and you go into the service. Walk me through when you first went into the service.
Oh, it's a journey in itself.
I
Um,
know.
it was it was standard. It was what we say, hurry up and wait. That's what the military's theme is, and it's like you do a lot of movements, and you think you're about to go right into battle, and no, you're not. You know, you're going through these training and learning how to fire a 50 caliber machine gun, and it was a process, and it was a long process before I actually ended up deploying.
Wow.
Very long process. You know, I didn't deploy until a few years after.
Really?
It took a
What was you
while.
doing for those few years?
It's training to kill. So I spent all that time thinking I was going to go right overseas, and no, I ended up going. Man, yeah, say yeah, 3 years later. So
Wow.
for infantry training in itself, that's you're looking at least a 9 month time cap.
So
Then
for
you have
three
to,
years,
yeah, three
so
years I
for
was
three
ready to go.
years, 3 years they're training you to go to. Did you know you was gonna go overseas at a certain point? Like as you going
I
through this
I
training?
so my impression. So you know how they say your recruiter doesn't tell you everything. My impression was I'd sign up, I'd get out of basic training in AIT, and I'd go right overseas. But there's such a long process there. There's what unit are you going to be attached to? What's that unit's mission when it deploys? There was a list then, so there was already so many soldiers there at that time, and you would have to wait your turn. It was like being on a waiting list for a restaurant.
Ah, got you, got you. So when you first got there, right? And this is after 9/11 happens.
Yeah.
They said they have you on call, basically. You're on a waiting list. You're on training for 3 years. You know, how you think you like describe that for me? I know you're gonna get through it more, but I know why you did it, why you joined. But you're waiting for 3 years. The anxiousness of this, like, describe that feeling to me.
The way I saw it, it was a little more time before I died. I looked at it as a perspective of, if I'm going to go out there and do my all and actually complete my mission, to complete the mission is to give it everything you got, and that
Yeah,
means your life. So I really just I appreciated the little things. I built bonds. My family, they didn't get to go to my graduation for high school, but they got to go to my military graduation.
that's
There was
awesome.
a lot going on there. I got engaged.
Yeah,
Had a son on the way. You name it. It was just I was living a normal life with a uniform on, and the whole time though I'm smiling and talking to everybody. The back of my head, I got that little voice saying, "It's coming. You're going to be fighting soon." So it's like I don't know. The best way to describe it is a boxer in his locker room before the fight.
gotcha.
You know.
All right. So 3 years later, that day, I guess it's your drill sergeant, your commanding officer say, "All right, guys, let's pack up and go."
Yeah.
Walk me through that moment.
So there's that excitement, and then there's the natural realization of fear of death. It's like it, 3 years took forever, and then suddenly that wasn't long enough. Like shit, we're going through this. We're doing this. We're going.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
you sit there, and then the process in itself was traumatizing. Um, I had to figure out a way to say goodbye to my family without worrying them, but in
Wow.
my mind, knowing it was the last time I was saying goodbye to them. So there's so many psychological somersaults you go through in that scenario. So the deployment in itself was expected, but the feeling of I love you guys, I'll see you guys later, and you walk out that door and you like, no, I won't,
Wow.
and it, it's indescribable that feeling of saying goodbye to your family for the last time. and they don't know it.
Oh my God, man. So in your unit, was other guys feeling this as well?
We didn't talk about it, honestly. I mean, you just these feelings and those scenarios in that moment in that time can't be. Nobody can hold your hand in that moment. Nobody knows how one person felt doing it, how the other person felt doing it. Some guys left home and they had a horrible family, so they didn't have any. They brushed it off. You
Mm,
never know that person's scenario. So that is, the military. We did everything together. This was something that you had to do by yourself. Again,
yeah,
another thing you didn't train for. You trained to fight together, to die together. Doesn't matter. When it comes to your personal at home life, that's your life. That's not the Army's. That's the part of the Army the Army allowed you to have to yourself.
yeah.
So I'll tell you, there was nothing more eerie than the 10-hour plane ride to Kuwait. The plane was dead quiet, and I knowing now, if I thought of myself then when everybody else was going through in there, everybody was
Yeah.
probably having the same thoughts about, damn, I might not see my family again. You know.
Okay.
So
Dude. All right. So this is a long ride, 10 hours. And you already felt like you had your little discussion with your not little discussion. You had a discussion with your mother and father before you left, right?
yep,
Okay.
and my fiance
And
and my
and, and your
siblings and
and your
all that.
fiance and your siblings. Now all this is going through your mind, 10-hour ride. Since your father was in the military, did he give you like any last minute advice or anything like that before you went on that 10-hour ride?
Well, my father never deployed,
Okay.
and one thing with me was I learned at a young age to never take advice from somebody you wouldn't want to trade places with,
Yeah.
or take advice from somebody that doesn't know what they're talking about. And
Wow. Yeah, I know that.
so my dad, I'm proud of you, and that was enough. There
Gotcha.
was no, like I said, it was a while before I deployed, so the training was there, the mindset was there.
Mm,
Um, there was no, I didn't need any coaxing. It was just time to go. Dad, I'm going. All right. Well, I'm
got it.
really proud of you, and a few tears, and that was the end of it.
Mm,
But yeah, I walked that path alone, as every vet or person that served does. That transition between leaving your family is a lonely road and a
gotcha.
hard road because you really want to look back.
So after 10 hours of that long, actually not nobody saying a single word, when you touched down in Kuwait, walk me through what happened after that when you
Kuwait was a
first got there.
surprise. So in Kuwait, you realize that you're literally in the future, right? It's
Oh,
nighttime at home, it's daytime there. We're thinking we're going to get off and start getting shot at. And Kuwait is actually an amazing transition period for soldiers,
really?
Marines, sailors, all that, because what they do is they allow you 2 weeks to get used to sleeping at a time normally you're awake.
Okay.
So that's all it is. It's like, I don't know, the best divers, they have to pressurize and
Gotcha.
depressurize before they go into the water. It's the same thing.
Gotcha.
So that was amazing. I did a lot of sleeping, and then that was the first few days. Then they started bringing us into these areas, these training areas, and you realize what they're showing you is multiple real life deaths of soldiers that either missed something or failed to do their mission.
Mm,
You're watching soldiers get blown up. They're showing you these videos nonstop of your brothers and sisters in arms dying. So you understand, hey, listen, if that person comes in and you decide, oh, he looks okay and I'm not going to check him, that guy might have a bomb strapped to his chest, or that woman might have a bomb strapped to it was reality, right? So you
Wow.
got the concept of training in movies and all that other stuff, and then you start to
Yeah.
see, a man get blown up on the screen in front of you. That's where you're going, and that's how easily you can get killed. So that
Yeah.
it started out nice in Kuwait, and then you started sinking in like, okay, I might not die in a bullet fight. I might get killed sleeping in my bed. I might get killed at a check stop that is surrounded by my brothers, everyone holding guns, and get blown up and not even know what happened. So the poetry of a veteran or a soldier disappears.
Ooh, all right. So you was there. You went through a training film. What was now? How long was you in Kuwait before you got to Iraq?
It's 2 weeks.
Okay. So you went through the training. This is more videos, right? You said it was all video trainings.
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, outside of that, you you write your will, or not your will.
Okay.
It's a will, but you write your goodbyes. So if you don't make it, there's a letter. Um, yeah, and outside of that, it's just you're just basically getting as much relaxation as you possibly can before it's time.
How much interaction and conversation did you have with your brothers and sisters over there? And while you was in time in Kuwait.
Nonstop, nonstop. I mean, you got to think about how depressing and scary it can be. And when you got a bunch of men that are feeling those things, that's when things start getting crazy. That's when we start drawing mustaches on each other's faces while they're sleeping, and
Yeah.
anything to take our minds off of we're about to get killed, you know. So that's when you get that's when the boys came out. We were still kids,
Yeah.
and we found ways to completely deviate from the fact of you're about to die. A lot of shopping, unnecessary money spent on Persian rugs, and it was like being in college. It was like
I got you.
it was like a crash course of college in 2 weeks.
For 2 weeks. I got
Yeah,
you. I
it
got you.
was just we were just being complete idiots, man. And loved every moment of it.
Right. All right. So Iraq. Yeah, I assume you took a bus or a plane over there.
Took a plane, and I am scared of planes ever since.
Yeah,
So
I can imagine why, brother. I can imagine why. So you got to Iraq. Walk me through it.
uh, I'll start from the plane. This is when you realize it's real.
Okay.
Is They put you in the C-130, and there's no windows. C-130 is, think of it as a I don't know, a lunchroom, but a plane. You're strapped next to everybody. You got these big straps on, and what they do when they start getting into these combat zones is it's called a combat landing, and there's
Okay.
combat takeoffs.
Mhm.
And the plane's so loud, you wouldn't know if the plane got hit with a missile.
Oh,
And they would take the plane while you're flying, and they would cut the engine, and you would drop 5,000 feet, and it's
what
like a
the?
roller coaster. You'd feel it, and
What?
then cut it back on, and they shut it off again. This way that it can't be traced by in RPGs or
Oh
mortars.
shit!
So
Damn.
you take off all nice, and the next thing you know, they don't tell you, hey, we're about to do this. You just feel the plane cut off, and you feel the plane fall.
Fuck.
And that was my first time really looking at the concept of death. Man, long story short, we landed in Anaconda, which is where I was stationed,
Okay.
and that was called Mortar City. The reason why it was called Mortar City was there was not one day or night that went by that we weren't getting bombed on the base. So now I'm in a place where, again, I thought I'd be a bullet fight, a gunfight,
Yeah, yeah.
you literally can walk outside and have a cigarette and get your head blown off by a mortar, get blown to pieces.
The fuck?
Not even knowing where the enemy's coming from. They would
Hold on a second. I'm sorry, brother. So you mean tell? I'm trying to take this in for a second here. Excuse me for saying this.
no, you're good.
You could just be walking around having a cigarette, just talking and whatever, and
And
next
get
thing you
blown
know,
up.
you can be talking to your buddy, and then he gets blown up. He's right next to you. Like,
Yeah.
did you see this shit happen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um Jumping forward a little bit, a few months in, I had an RPG. It was a sandstorm. You can only see 5 feet in front of you, and I watched a RPG missile fly over my head. Never, not like the movies. Could see this thing cutting through the smoke, and once it got over my head, and I'm maybe 5 feet, you could see sparks ignite from it, and that's what shoots out the missile,
Oh shit.
and blew up a trailer right next to me. Um, Yeah, again, you think you go to Iraq and you get, it's firefights. No, you can literally be going to go get something to eat and be dead. And you're in a place where you're supposed to be safe, right? The FOBs are supposed to be the safe havens. Where I was at, it was called Mortar City. You
Oh,
would lay down in bed and you would hear boom, boom, boom all around you on the base. And yeah,
so
we had
you
to
ain't
learn
getting
how to
no
fall
sleep,
asleep.
or yeah, you ain't getting no sleep or rest at all.
Not at first, no. So how I got through it, and that's how most of us got through those type of scenarios. Is you get tired of being scared, and and again that fear turns into anger, and it's just like fuck it, you know. If this is take me, you have to, in order to focus on your missions, you got to stop fearing for your life,
Yeah.
and yeah, you actually have you lose your fear of death because you can't think if you're worried every day about getting killed.
So you was at this point in time. You was at Motor City, as you call it, Motor City,
Mortars. So
Mortar
which is the
City,
name of the basically the bombs dropping around you. It was Anaconda, but we called it Mortar City.
Mortar City.
And it held true to its name. We had turrets shooting those things down every day. It was just, again, anywhere you go, you could get killed. And that's before you
uh,
even leave the base.
I'm kind of curious, right? Because I remember right when we talked before, you gave me a short version. I'm kind of curious. When was the part when you heard the news from home?
So yeah, that's so I got to that point where I no longer fear dying.
Yeah.
Was going through my missions, and I'll give you the that bit too. But
Yeah, give it to me.
so I had 3 missions out there. One was the burn pits, watching Iraqi civilians. The burn pits was basically these big garbage areas, and we'd have civilians from the towns over or villages over working for us. And I
Mhm.
would stand guard, and I'd have to breathe that in. That actually ultimately led to a cancer that I had to get removed.
Oh,
Um, the second mission was convoys. Those convoys would stem from bringing pencils to a base or supplies, and obviously you can get killed any moment there. I was a gunner, which means my head was sticking out of a Humvee holding a 50 caliber, waiting to get my head shot off every time, scanning me and 3 other guys. And then my third mission was we had we had the best hospital there, so I was security intel for the nurses and doctors. So I'd see brothers come in with bullets riddled through their bodies, brothers in pieces. I'd salute somebody every other day. salute their
Mm,
bodies. I'd watch women come in that were tortured by their husbands for displeasing
ugh,
them.
mm,
I've seen women that a woman displeased her husband, so he threw a pot of boiling water on her, and
mm.
I had to hold her down. And the hardest part for all of us was she didn't want to be touched by a man because that's their religion.
Yeah.
That's their beliefs. Um, I've watched babies pass away in front of me, take their last breaths, and had to stand there with my rifle or my M4 um, next to the parents as they're crying, holding my weapon, making sure they don't do anything rash.
Oh
So
my God.
you got to stand by grieving parents ready to shoot. So everything about it was traumatic about
I
that.
got a question for you right quick. Probably like I'm kind of curious, and a lot of people want to know too, especially for people who've been in the military. Right. I don't know if you want to answer this or not. I don't know if it's comfortable with you or not. I'm going to ask you anyway. When you had to take lives, like how was that first feeling for you?
All right. So for me, my that wasn't that was reflex. All right.
Yeah.
There's those areas I won't touch. Not so much.
Got you.
And I'll tell you right now that seeing the lives lost and whatnot was not the most traumatic experience for me.
Got you.
You know, yeah,
Understood. Understood.
we shy from those. You
I
know,
got you.
yeah.
Totally understand. But so you went through your three missions.
Hmm.
Go ahead, continue, sir.
All right. So now we'll get into the other part of it.
Yeah.
So one day, every now and then, we get on a Skype call, and those Skype calls would consist of us calling our families. When I say us, I mean everybody on the base. We had
Yeah.
these little rooms, and I would talk to my family often on a Skype call. MySpace times. And
Yeah.
one day I called my sister, and I'm like, "Hey, how you doing?" And we had a nice little talk. And then at the end of the conversation, she's like, "There's something I really need to tell you." And I'm like, "Yeah, what's up? What's going on?" And you know, I still wake up screaming from this phone call. Of all the
Wow.
things in Iraq, this phone call fucked me up. I think Devon is sleeping with your fiance, and that's my brother, my only brother. And
Mm,
yeah, I think I
mm.
think I think I think he's sleeping with her, and I can't express you stop fearing death. You feel like your emotions are in check because you're there for your brothers and sisters that are out there fighting with you and serving with you, and you feel like the one thing that you can count on is the family back home.
Mm.
I would look at the moon, and it would give me comfort because I felt like my family was looking at that same object. That it brought us some kind of connection. All I
Yeah.
wanted to do was get back home to them, if I could. If I could. The main reason why I'd stay alive was to see them again. These are and these two people, the fiance and my brother, they were like the fucking reason I was fighting.
Shit.
So you realize that not only did they not expect you to get home, they completely took you out of the equation. And then you have this
Mm.
this this thought of I'm fucking fighting for these people, and they don't care. So then that's when, like I said, that whole image of self. When I say like the self esteem and the pride in anything I was doing was gone. I was like, I must really not be worth a damn if I could be out
Bro,
here in a war zone.
Yeah, I'm still. When you told me that, I thought about that when you told me that. I was like, okay, this man is going through a war zone, not knowing he can take his final walk any day, any minute.
Yeah,
And at the same time, when you found out that your fiance at the time and you said your only brother, right,
my big
were
brother.
in were in relations.
Yeah.
Like, I'm trying to figure out how the hell did you keep that shit together? Your heart was broken. You're fighting in, you have to keep your eyes on a swivel. You gotta watch everything you do. Like, if you feel comfortable about that, like, how'd you get through that point?
Well, like I said, so it goes back to those videos I was watching of those soldiers that got killed um, before we went to our base, our fob. And you look at it, man, and you realize that a lot of those brothers that were killed in those videos, the his battle buddies, what we'd call them, wasn't paying attention either.
Yeah,
So before that phone call, I learned that, you know, the problems I was having, the fear of death I was having, did not help the man sitting next to me.
yeah,
And that was instilled in me, which is another traumatic experience of fear of death. Getting over that is fucking difficult, man. That's really hard. And once you can do that, you learn that you can put things in the, that fear's still there. Don't get me wrong, but
yeah.
it's that big. So I created a vault in my head, and I took that information, and I thanked her. I was like, thank you for telling me. I'd rather know before I got home than after. And honestly, I don't think there's any good time for that to be said anyway. But that's what I was thinking then. I put that shit in the back of my head, and when I say I spent the rest of my deployment with that thing screaming in the back of my head and ignoring it, that's what I did. And yeah, I locked it in the safe with a lot of air holes in it. That's how I was able to hear those screams of, "Oh, this is what's happening back home. This is bad." It's like, fuck it. If I'm not fighting for them, I'm gonna fight for the guys next to me anyway. They're my family now. These are the people that I'm fighting for now. Fuck the rest of them.
Right.
You know.
Well, you're a strong brother, man. Because I don't know. I would have
So
lost my
here's
shit. Like,
here's the so is it strength, or is it, what choice do you have?
Yeah,
What am I gonna?
yeah,
I need y'all to put me in a plane right now and send me back home.
yeah, yeah.
You're in a
That
war
that
zone, man. It's, you know what I'm saying. It's not like you know, it's not a strong. You don't have a choice. If
yeah.
I leave, then you're gonna die. If I leave, you're gonna die. If I focus on this, or if I throw my hands up, no, there's no choice. I signed up to fight. I signed up to serve.
Mm.
No matter what the circumstances, I mean, shit, we sang songs in basic training about a guy sleeping with your girl back home. We'd
Whoa,
march to shit like that.
shit.
It's an extremely, which I didn't know till now, common occurrence. They made songs for us to march to around that theme. So if you kind of look at it, like, the military almost trains you in that department too. You're singing this song, and we'd have a hard time singing it in basic training, and but we'd have to train while we're singing it. So we're pushing through that thought,
Yeah.
training, running 5 miles, and it part of the training, man. The only part of the training that didn't exist is when you are done in your home.
All right, sir. The last question I got on that one is, and I probably a lot of people want to know. I'm kind of curious too. When you got home, did you confront these two?
I did, and what hurt me the most was them not admitting to it. But kind of admit, it was an indirect thing, and it made me,
Yeah, yeah.
got me to a point where I had to decide whether or not to kill my brother or disappoint my parents. And both those choices were so extreme, I ended up in a psych ward for 2 weeks.
Oh.
I attempted, once I couldn't come to terms with either, I attempted suicide by cop. The cop looked at me, and maybe it was my haircut. I think he knew that I was military. And
Hmm.
instead of putting me in cuffs, I walked up to him, I hit him in his chest, hoping he'd shoot me. And he grabbed me, held me, and called an ambulance. And they took me to a
Yes.
ward, man. And yeah, I went through the ward, came out, finally admitted to it, and it still ate away at me. Then I tried to down a bottle of pills because I still had that feeling. And that second time, I was on a hospital bed thinking I was going to die from an overdose,
Hmm.
and made the decision that if I made it out, I'd become the man that nobody was for me when I was at my lowest. That's when everything changed in my life.
My God, man. 10 years in the United States military. You try to commit suicide, what, 2 times?
2 times.
Yeah, I've been there. Uh, I think I told you before, right after I lost my daughter,
Yeah.
right when I
Sorry.
let go of that steering wheel. Thank you, bro.
Yeah.
When I let go of that steering wheel, like I was checked out. Like I was in the
Yeah.
truck. If it didn't hit that boulder, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You
It's
know,
all game over. Yeah.
yeah, I mean that was a clip. I was on a mountain, so I was going off.
Yeah.
After you left Iraq, like I'm assuming why how long was you over there for until you came back home?
The deployment itself, 6 months.
Okay,
That deployment.
so after it was over, when you came back home, were you still technically in the service, right?
Absolutely. So, I mean, I'm giving you Iraq was 6 months,
Yeah,
right? There's
yeah, I
there's
got
also a degress training, which was months after that as well. So when I
you,
got
got you.
back, I actually went to a base. I didn't see my family probably for no, well, no, I didn't see my family for a little bit over a year
Okay,
between the training and everything and the degressing and that process. So yeah,
okay. So how did the U.S. military react when you went through the suicide attempts?
they didn't know.
Nobody knew.
They didn't know. They didn't know. Um, yeah. I kept it to myself, and it's in the military. Then it was don't ask, don't tell. So, and if you don't tell, they ain't gonna ask.
Now I know you do a lot for military now because right when I talked to Amy for the first time, we both know Amy. And when she told me that fact, I didn't know about the whole 22 veterans die per day. I did
Yeah,
not know that. I should have
it's a
known
little
that.
higher than that now, but yeah.
I can imagine, brother. And, you deal with vets today. How hard is that right now, dealing with vets or the other vets who wants to have these suicidal thoughts on a daily basis? Like, how busy are you with that? Because you're giving back to vets today.
Well, that's why I wear my heart on my sleeve, man. I tell these stories that used to I didn't want to tell anybody. When I went through this, I didn't think anybody ever experienced that. I thought those songs we were singing were just songs.
Yeah.
And that's why I said I decided to become the man I didn't have in my life when I was at that point of suicide. If I really just spoke to somebody or heard somebody say, that shit happened to me too, man, it would have went a lot different. For me, it would have been a lot different. As I'd have been like,
Mhm.
okay, I'm not this piece of shit that Oh, I'm so glad he's gonna get killed in a war. Again, my self esteem was gone. So I'm thinking it's just me. I'm the only person going through this. And when you see the videos I make and the thoughts I put out there and portray, and
Yes.
all that stuff is, hey, me too, man. I'm a piece of shit too. No one loved me either. When at least for a veteran, when a veteran sees that his brother's suffering the same thing, and we know we fought for each other out there, it gives them an incentive to fight. Most of the time, I get these phone calls 2 in the morning. I'm ready to jump off a cliff. I'm looking at the end of a barrel, and I'll tell them that story. Listen, if I can keep going with what happened to me, with my family, and I'm still going, man. I'm only still going now because they're here. You know, I've had those Me Too's afterwards, where it's like, yeah, once I started talking about a Me Too, those conversations saved my life. So it's mutual, man. The whole point of them knowing they're not alone is that's everything. Once you join the military, you become pack animals. We rely on each other. So it's not hard to save a life if you have the same testimony.
And Maroc, let me ask you this question. When I said to you, you know, 22 veterans die per day, you said that you think it's going up. Why you
No, it
think it's
is.
going up?
No, it is up actually. I forgot what the number is. There's a new stat on that. 22 a day was I don't know. I feel like 5 years ago that's where it was at. I think now we're at 32, 33. I could look it up. Um, it
Jesus.
yeah. I mean, mind you, these are confirmed deaths as well, right? As confirmed to okay, there was a guy in my unit that over two guys they went in a room together from my unit to deploy with me, and they both shot each other with heroin,
Oh my
shot each
God.
other up, and both died in the same room together. Uh, you know
Ugh.
that's a drug overdose. That's not a suicide. See how that works?
Yeah, yeah, I get it. I get where you're coming from.
It's a lot higher
I,
than 22 a day.
I get where you're coming from. Do
A
you
lot
think?
higher.
I asked some people about this. I'm gonna ask your opinion about this. When COVID came around, how much do you think? Because it spiked people's anxiety up and all type of shit. Do you think that contributed that as well?
The worst
The
thing,
isolation of COVID.
there's an isolation outside when you leave the military in general, right? The worst thing a veteran can possibly do is sit in a room by himself and stay in his own thoughts. It's the worst thing. I learned after this is what led to those suicides. Again, thinking, kill my brother, disappoint my parents. This is what it's going to look like. My sister's going to be hurt. That's me sitting in a room by myself, thinking to myself, COVID was hell for most. Um, I'm so programmed now, or so fearful now of having those moments by myself that I continuously stay busy. I mean, literally,
Yeah.
called you today. Oh my God, I got this scheduled this morning. I didn't even realize it. There's not a moment. We're like sharks. I have to keep moving. Um,
Yes.
and when it's time to go to sleep, I have to knock myself out. I got 4 bottles of pills the military gives me to put me to sleep. So I don't have time to think about my life when I'm laying in bed. So yeah,
That's very
COVID.
interesting. Interesting you said that. I'm sorry.
No, no, no.
Every military person I know, even my buddy, right, the guy that I told you about on the phone with,
Yeah,
after I talked to you, I talked to him, and I kind of relayed some of the message that you gave to him. And he brought out a little bit more. He says you're right. He cannot be alone. He cannot stay
no,
still. He can't, because if he does, it's something he knows something bad's going to happen.
yeah. Idle
He knows
hands.
that.
Idle
He
hands.
knows that. In your opinion, I don't know if you want to talk about this or not, but every person I know in the military, everybody, someone I know, is on a lot of medications.
I got 12 bottles, man, that I take daily. 12 pills I take daily. Daily.
Is that from like the stuff that you guys went through? Is this something the VA has told you had to take, or is it something
Yeah.
you personally had to take?
No, no. This is a VA prescription. This is from the military. I have four. I have a nightmare pill. I have, and that pill don't fucking work. A nightmare pill. I have Ambient. I have a mood stabilizer. I have other pills that take away the side effects from the mood stabilizers. Three different mood stabilizers. One's for anger. One's for uh, I don't know. I guess drifting. I can't even pronounce half the bottles I've had, and I've been taking them for at least 12 years now.
Oh my
Oh,
God. I,
yeah. Before I go to bed, I'm
Jesus, dude. I I gotta ask you this question. Don't you think instead of taking pills, I'm not talking about just you with the
Yeah.
VA, instead of taking pills, like conversation, talking to them, opening up about everything that happened to every individual. You think that's possible? Do they have time to do that? You think that will work instead of giving like 8 to 12 different pills?
You mean like having a conversation with family and things of that nature or friends?
Or someone in the VA or counselors or something like that. You think that would work better
Oh no, I
than
got a
pills or not?
psychiatrist too. I'm a
Oh, okay.
now I don't think I even mentioned it. I'm 100% disabled and unemployable through the military. I'm not allowed to work. That's because of my mind. That's from speaking to a
Gotcha.
psychiatrist.
Gotcha.
Um, you got to understand. Just talking, I talk to the psychiatrist because I have to,
Yeah.
not because I want to or because I think it's going to help. Um, Conversations in general depends on the veteran. Me personally, I have a hard time with one-on-one discussions in person with somebody
Yeah.
because I have gotten so accustomed with my training to reading body language and overthinking the intentions of somebody that seems nice. You might have
Oh
a
my
bomb
God.
on you. I don't fucking know. You might be ready to shoot me in the head. So when you're trained that way and you start engaging with people, talk to my psychiatrist. The first 5 minutes in the conversation, I'm counting how many paintings he has in this room, what those paintings are about, and what they might mean, how he might feel about me based off of the art on the wall. Um, Human interaction is it's not what helps. The pills, they're not good either, to
Mm,
be honest. But at the same time, I'm still alive because of them, because I'm not sitting there thinking, what did that guy mean 5 hours ago when he laughed at something that I didn't think was that funny?
mm,
Was was he fucking with me? That's that's the process every day. Even with family, I can't sit in a room long enough with them, but I have to stay busy.
yeah.
All right. So I mean, like I said, what helps from I invested into a weight room in my house. So
Yeah.
when I'm, boxing bags, speed bags, paddle boards, motorcycle, club, those things help. But when it comes to the programming of medication, if I stop without medication at night before I go to bed, and I'm thinking of that phone call that I got from my sister, how the fuck do you go to
Oh,
sleep?
I get it. I get
How do
it.
you go to
I
sleep?
understand.
How would you
Yeah.
sleep? You're sitting there like these two was fucking while I was getting shot at.
I
That's
get
that,
it.
and then the pills wear off while I'm sleeping. I wake up screaming from the phone call
Now I
because that's what I
understand.
wanted to do when she talked to me.
I get it.
My
I, I,
wife,
I, I
my wife, yeah, my wife grabs me. Hey, wake up, it's okay. I'm like, all right, she knows. That is everything I've fucking seen overseas. I've seen everything. The worst a human being can do. I still have nightmares about that fucking phone call. And there was fucking bombs going off around me when I got that call. That's what stood out was how little I meant to the people I was fighting to get back home to, and fighting for to make sure they didn't get killed by a plane dropping on their heads.
Mm,
So yeah, it's much more complex than a conversation.
I
You
got you.
can't talk me out of that feeling.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, because the only reason why I asked that question, a lot of people, because I can tell you, I didn't understand either. I didn't
yeah,
never say, because I never served. I've never been through that. I've
yeah,
been through my own demons. But, I want to get your story and other people's stories
yeah.
so people can understand what former military people go through. But I want to ask you a question. How is your mental, not mental, but your support for you mentally now? How is that for you now? Like people that's around you, your
Oh,
brotherhood. Because I say you in the motorcycle club as well.
that's it.
How is
I
that
so
support for you?
that's it. I stopped relying on my blood family. Again, there's just obviously family members I love to death to this day, and started
Yeah,
relying on my brothers and sisters in arms. I trust the man that'll take a bullet for me farther than I trust a handshake and a hello with a family member.
Gotcha.
That's the support system. Is I'm standing around men that are went through some traumatic shit, and they're only standing there because I'm there. It's a mutual. I'll keep living if you keep living. Deal. You know. So
Mm,
it's great. It's a great support system, man, and it's we don't have to tell each other what's going on in our heads. We know. You know
gotcha. I
that
gotcha. I
link
gotcha.
is it's insane. We could sit there, have a drink, and tell some stupid jokes,
Hmm,
and whatever's bothering us is already been put out on the table without him having to say a word. You know.
gotcha. How is it to do? I always want to learn, but how is it to ride a bike? Because like everybody says, it's so free. It's free when you on the road. You having a good time. Like, how is that?
um, it depends on the person. I mean, on the civilian aspect, yes, it's freeing. It's like being on a roller coaster for them. I trained and fought in Iraq in a turret where my head was sticking out of a Humvee. I was able to see everything around me in a 360-degree radius. I sit in a car, I freak the fuck
Wow.
out. So for me, a
Wow.
motorcycle is my way of having those visuals, of being able to be aware of my surroundings. I have to be hyper vigilant all the time. So the motorcycle for me provides that same sensation I had when I was in my Humvee, looking for somebody that was going to try to kill me. And because of that, I save lives. Been on the news for those things. That military training translated into my civilian life in a way I never thought it would.
Yeah, I saw the article where you saved a woman's life.
Any decent person would have done. I just happened to be the decent person then and there. But I was able to see on my motorcycle something that I wouldn't have seen in my car was smoke emulating out of her glove box from my bike. And I jumped off the
Mm.
bike, went up, car was on fire, and her leg was busted. I carried her out, dragged her, put her on the ground, kept going. I found a dead body on my motorcycle. I heard screams when I was riding, thought it was in my own head. Turned out it was an old man that fell down the steps in the backyard of his house on my
Yeah.
motorcycle. Um, I have broken up fights. All these videos are on my page. And all these
Yeah, I
things
seen
stem
it.
from me being on my bike. You know, um, yeah. Yeah, for me, a motorcycle is just an extension. It's like my leg. It's a part of me. I need to be able to see everything around me. So it's not the sensation of freedom for me, more so than my training needing to remain sharp.
Before we wind this down so much, but is there something more important you want to get out to let people know about veterans today?
Well,
Something right that you haven't really shared out there, like maybe you want to share something new or something deep, something that's not scripted, just unfiltered, say your shit, something you want people to really realize.
so I'm used to talking to fellow vets. If I was to say anything to a civilian, or yeah, patriot, put it that way, understand the importance of your patriotism. I know a lot of us vets get all, cringy when we hear thank you for our service. That's what they say anyway. Me, like I said, I thank people for their patriotism. Hearing people that are appreciative of what veterans have done and do, soldiers, people that are serving, um, means the world to men like me because we almost lost what we were fighting for. At least I did when I realized my family didn't care what I was fighting for. Um, and I wanted to have somebody to fight for. I wanted to have somebody to fight and protect from foreign adversaries and from harm, innocent people. And I didn't think anybody out there gave a shit until that woman walked up to me and said, "Thank you for your service." Or that man walked up to me and said, "Thank you for your service." That's the biggest takeaway is you guys keep being patriotic. You guys keep telling veterans that, even if they say they don't like hearing it, let them know that there was a reason they fought and there was people that appreciate what they fought for. Because you got men like me whose, fiance was banging his brother And that was the people I thought I was fighting for, when really I was fighting for those people that come up to me every day and say thank you.
Yeah.
And that makes it all worth it. So,
Bro,
yeah.
goddamn, man. That's some shit right there.
I've been trying not to cry half the interview. I've been trying not to cry, man.
Bro, you know, bro, listen to you, man, right? And I know we don't really know each other. We just met too long time ago. But I'm telling you, I'm giving you straight up. This is probably one of the realest shit I've ever fucking heard, man. Seriously, dead ass. Like, my respect for you now was even risen higher when we talked on the phone.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Respect's
I
mutual, brother.
mean,
It's
listen,
mutual, man.
I know I didn't serve in the military. I know I'm not, can understand that, but I do respect you. I respect a lot of people out there. Every person in the military, some of my family members in the military.
And let me say this though too, man, because people they think that there's a different PTSD with loss, what you went through, your trauma.
Yeah.
There is no PTSD is PTSD. Trauma is trauma. Just because I'm a veteran,
Yes.
doesn't mean that the next person that didn't serve doesn't have some kind of trauma that's just as fucked up, just as damaging.
Yes.
So there's no here. We're on the same page, brother. We both experienced something um, that was devastating in one way, one form or the other, and they're both equally powerful, and it's a testimony that's going to help somebody else. And that's what you said in terms of respect. Before we even had this conversation, what you're doing and your message and your mission is beautiful, man. And I'm just humbled to be able to talk with you.
Hey,
This is probably one of
man.
the realest interviews I've done, and ever probably ever will have. So, brother, it's mutual. We're
Damn,
of the
bro. Come
same
on,
cloth.
man. You don't fucking me up right now, baby. Seriously. Yo,
Yeah,
I'm the type of guy. It's hard for me to take shit in, but man, that shit was deep right there. I appreciate you, man.
that's mutual, brother.
Seriously,
I can't wait to
I
meet you in
definitely
person.
appreciate you. Oh, we gonna meet, bro.
That's it.
we, we we gonna meet.
Telling
But
you.
you know what? Before I end this, I want to ask you a question right quick. What is one thing you can tell people about the misunderstanding? Because there are some critics out there. I know there are some critics out there that I've heard about, I've seen, I've read about. Well, I didn't go through this shit. I had amazing time. Like, do you want like? Can you talk about that a little bit? Because there's a lot of critics, people who have served. And they say I have no problem and this and that. Like, you want to dig dive into that one, or you want to leave that one alone?
Well, it's hard because you can't really speak for other people, and there are some guys that had amazing times. There's a guy that I had to take his a rifle from overseas, in my unit that was gonna kill himself with that gun, because he was having
Mhm.
a hard time. Um, sure, it's completely validated. A lot of guys had a great time. A lot of guys, enjoyed every minute of their service. Ups and downs, and most of us have. I went through. If if you looked at me now today or 20 years from now and say, would I do it again? Getting that same fucking phone call, I'd do it. I'd go through this again. There's nothing I would change about what I did, my service, and how it went, and the bad news, the good news. So, no, did I have a good time? Yeah, most of the time it was great, but there were days, and that goes for
Yeah,
anybody in life. There were days, and that does not discount. Like, I don't regret anything, man. If I didn't have that phone call, it fucked me up. I wouldn't have saved, what is it, 245,000 people online right now that can relate to what I'm saying. I wouldn't have saved some lives. So no, there's no regret. So I get that concept of, yeah, I don't know what the big deal is. I was good. For me, it was a big deal, but worth it.
yeah.
Worth it. absolutely worth it. So I don't know if that touches what you're asking, but
Right?
yeah,
Yeah.
just
Hey,
yeah,
trust me, I get it, man. Right? When we chop up in the future, I'm gonna tell you something that I gotta get over, but I'm not gonna put it on here.
yeah.
So, sir, I'll thank you for your time. I know, right now, I mean, you got a very busy day. But before you go, right, a lot of people, cause today you put Reefs out. Why'd you put Reefs out today? Right, quick.
Reefs Across America is they've been going for a long time. And I'll put a video up with that. Basically, they say you die twice. All right, they say that the first time you die is when you take your last breath, and then the second time you die is when somebody says your name for the last time. And Reefs Across America has this very great tradition where around Christmas we lay these wreaths on these veterans' tombstones. And we go to this veteran memorial park, and they're all throughout the country. You lay a wreath down, and I'll say that person's name out loud, I'll salute them, and I'll grab another wreath and do it until the whole lot is filled with wreaths.
I
And
love that.
not just the symbolism of it, but again, you get to sit there and keep whoever's in the ground alive. You
I
know,
love that. I love that.
so
So, where can people for the Apple and Spotify listeners, right? Where can they see you and reach out to you at?
well, the way TikTok's going right now, we'll see.
I know, but on January 19th, right?
I mean, I'm gonna be on other platforms, but for now, just Google my name, Amarock Critton. I'm sure you'll have like it written out for them.
Oh
But
yes.
yeah, they can reach me there. Say hi to me.
Hello, how are you?
All right,
I
I'm almost
definitely
done.
you'll be on this podcast as well.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. All right, I'll be right upstairs. Did you just get here? Yeah, I just got here. All right. Um, I'm sorry.
No, it's
Oh
all
yeah,
right.
where,
It's
where
all
to
right.
find me? Where to find me? Yeah,
There you go.
just again, just Google my name. It's I do not like uh the concept of being an influencer because that's not what I'm doing. What I'm doing is I'm just
Yes.
sharing feelings and thoughts that us veterans have that we cannot share with our family members. Some brothers can't talk like I can talk, can't say what I say. So these videos and these things that I make, that's for that veteran to show his wife or his kids or his parents. This is what your dad's going through. This is what your mom's going through. That's it. So even if I didn't have a platform, those videos are still out there. All you got to do is Google my name, and that's all those videos
Hey,
for. Is a reference for a veteran to say "me too" or for "honey, this is how I feel right now."
I
So
love it.
just look up my name. But if it right now, TikTok, I don't know, maybe it'll be a US based company soon, who knows? But
Who knows, man? We
God, who
don't
knows
know
what's going
nothing.
on, man.
We don't know nothing.
I'm sure I'll be
So,
on any all the other platforms, and it's going to be the same name,
I'm gonna
Amarok
blast
Britain.
you out anyway, bro. So you don't gotta worry about that.
Yeah.
I'm blast you out. Thank you, sir, so much for coming on, ladies and gentlemen. It was an honor and my pleasure to interview this person, this man, this grown ass man. Which I gotta say, he's a grown ass man.
Back at you, brother.
Sir, I'm telling you, thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for checking out Let's Talk About It. For my YouTube listeners, please like, subscribe, share. For my Apple and Spotify listeners, please give me a rating. And for this interview, give me 5 stars on this one because this man is gold.
Yeah,
All right.
I
We will
also
see you.
wanted
Oh,
before you
okay.
leave, I just wanted to
Go
say
ahead.
to you, thank you for listening.
I'm always here, brother. Listen, even beyond this interview, I'm always here.
Hey, you, brother.
Seriously. All right. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you next time on Let's Talk About It. Peace. Thank you for watching the show. Please like, subscribe, comment. Stay tuned next week for another exciting episode on Let's Talk About It.